Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack the news, research, and insights you've gathered, giving you that shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today we're diving into some really fascinating, fast-moving stories. We're talking cutting-edge AI, shifts in the economy, consumer behavior changes, even a look at where life is best across the U.S.
Yeah, it's a snapshot of what's shaping our world right now. And what's really interesting, I think, is how connected all these seemingly different topics are. We'll be connecting the dots, from tech giants battling for AI talent to how those innovations actually change our daily lives and even how global trade policies might be impacting your wallet and the housing market. Our mission really is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge and deliver those aha moments straight to you.
Okay, let's unpack this. We should probably start with AI. It's just moving at warp speed. It really feels like everyone is jumping into the AI coding game right now. Amazon Web Services, AWS, they just launched a preview of Kiro, an AI coding program. And Amazon CEO Andy Jassy is already saying Kiro, quote, has a chance to transform how developers build software. So what Kiro does, it helps developers write code, generates diagrams for data flow, creates task lists, basically streamlining development. AWS mentioned that current vibe coding, that more intuitive, maybe less structured approach, can get overly complex, hard to track decisions, document them. Kiro aims to fix that by helping define requirements and system design before the coding starts.
And the real insight there isn't just, faster coding. It's how Kiro, by defining things before writing code, could really shift software development fundamentally. It moves away from that reactive vibe coding, more towards an architectural, preventative approach,
Right.
potentially cutting down on costly errors, project delays down the line. And what's truly remarkable is the immediate market reaction, the competitive landscape this kicks off. Just days before Kira was announced, Google said it's hiring staff from an AI coding startup, Windsurf. That's part of a huge, $2.4 billion tech licensing deal. They want to make their Gemini AI models more useful for developers. Microsoft's also been busy, enhancing its Visual Studio Code editor with an agent mode for automated software development.
Right. And here's where the kind of human side of the story gets really interesting. This AI talent war is just escalating. Just days after Google poached Windsurf CEO Varun Mohan and the co-founder Douglas Chen, plus other key R&D folks, another AI startup, Cognition, announces it's acquiring Windsurf's IP, product, trademark, brand, and the talent. It's like a chess game, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you remember, OpenAI was reportedly talking about buying Windsurf for maybe $3 billion just a few months back. But that deal fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, both Windsurf and Cognition, backed by Peter Thiel's Founders Fund. Cognition, they're known for their own AI coder, Devin. This isn't just about a few people. It really shows how companies will buy whole startups just to get that top R&D talent in the IP.
Yeah, absolutely. And this intense focus on AI development, it naturally makes you think about the downstream effects, especially with generative AI, how we consume information. Meta, for instance, just announced they removed about 10 million Facebook profiles. This was just in the first half of 2025.
10 million, why?
Mostly for impersonating large content producers. It's part of this bigger effort to fight spammy content or AI slop. That's that low-quality, repetitive stuff, often churned out cheaply by AI. They're also rolling out stricter measures, trying to promote original posts from actual creators using tech to spot duplicate videos. And Mark Zuckerberg even said Meta plans to spend, get this, hundreds of billions of dollars on AI compute infrastructure. They're bringing their first supercluster that's like a massive network of computers for AI training online next year.
Hundreds of billions. That's a serious investment.
It is. And YouTube's also made a policy change recently, preventing mass-produced or repetitive content from being monetized. They clarified it's about curbing spammy videos, not stopping creators using AI tools creatively, for storytelling.
Okay, so while the companies are battling it out and dealing with all this AI-generated content,
Yeah.
how are governments fitting into this picture? AI is clearly becoming critical for national security, too. The U.S. Department of Defense just announced it's granting contract awards up to $200 million total to several AI companies. Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, and even xAI are on that list.
Right. And putting that in a broader context, the DoD's Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office said these awards will speed up the agency's adoption of, quote, advanced AI capabilities to address critical national security challenges. Their Chief Digital and AI Officer, Doug Mattey, really emphasized AI is transforming how the department supports warfighters. how it maintains strategic advantage. It's a very clear signal of AI getting baked into government strategy.
But then on the flip side, you have Elon Musk's xAI launching Grok for Government this week,
Yeah?
making its models available to U.S. government customers. Grok, though, has faced some serious controversy, right? Generating anti-Semitic posts praising Hitler that led to EU scrutiny. A technical meeting was scheduled.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
xAI apologized, blamed a code update. But despite all that, they still got one of those DoD contracts.
That's interesting timing.
It is. And stepping back from specific models, how are these tech shifts playing out in the wider financial markets? We're seeing some surprises. Apple's stock, for example, has slumped quite a bit, down around 16% this year. It's got some Wall Street analysts questioning Tim Cook's leadership for this AI era, though, others argue he's still the right guy.
Indeed. And while some tech giants face headwinds, others are just soaring. Rocket Lab, the space infrastructure company, their stock jumped almost 11% today. It's building on a really strong rally. Their market value is over $19 billion now since their NASDAQ debut in 2021.
Wow.
The CEO, Peter Beck, pointed out demand is incredibly high. They're apparently producing a rocket every 15 days.
Every 15 days.
Yeah, and they've secured a deal with the European Space Agency, had 3 successful Electron rocket launches just in June. It really highlights how different parts of the tech and innovation market are having very different experiences right now.
Okay, so from the cutting edge of AI and space tech, let's shift gears. We inevitably have to look at the broader economy. Where tech advancements meet, well, the realities of global trade and fiscal policy. Let's pivot to how these recent tariff debates are kind of rippling through inflation and interest rates. Tariffs are definitely back in the headlines, stirring up a lot of talk about inflation, interest rates. President Trump has threatened a 30% tariff on imports from the EU and Mexico starting August 1st. The EU is holding off on retaliating for now, hoping for a trade deal by month end. And he also issued this new threat: secondary tariffs, about 100% on countries buying Russian exports. That kicks in 50 days if there's no Ukraine peace deal. That could really hit countries like China, India, Brazil, Turkey, places relying on Russian fossil fuels.
Right. So the logical next question is, what's the actual impact of these tariffs on prices, and who really ends up paying? Economists mostly agree that inflation from these trade policies is, well, likely coming soon. The Cleveland Fed president, Beth Hammack, she noted tariffs create huge uncertainty for businesses. And they definitely contribute to the Fed being cautious about rate cuts. We've already seen specific impacts, right? Like steel prices jumping 23% after earlier tariffs went up. But beyond just immediate price hikes, the deeper thing about tariffs is their unpredictable sort of second-order effects. They can distort global supply chains, push companies towards automation faster to avoid the tariffs, even shift political alliances. It's much more complex than just simple inflation.
Okay, that makes sense. But here's where it gets a bit debatable. The White House economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, he claims tariffs aren't causing widespread inflation. Why? Because of patriotism buying. He suggests Americans prefer U.S.-made stuff. He even pointed to a White House report showing imported goods prices falling. But then you have critics from Yale Budget Lab, Harvard Pricing Lab, citing their data showing import prices have gone up since earlier tariffs. How do we square that? What's really going on with the numbers?
That's a great point. It really shows how tricky it is to measure economic impact, how different data can be spun, right? Patriotism buying might shift some demand, sure, but the basic mechanics of tariffs mean added costs somewhere. Even if U.S. consumers buy more domestic goods, tempering some inflation, it doesn't cancel out the higher cost of imports still coming in, or the fact that domestic producers might just raise their prices if there's less cheap foreign competition.
Right.
It shows the challenge of isolating one cause in this huge interconnected economy. And speaking of economic shifts, another big player is the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. The president has renewed his criticism of Fed Chair Jerome Powell, called him a knucklehead, said rates should be below 1%. The White House is even scrutinizing the Fed's big headquarters renovation. $2.5 billion, which is $700 million over estimates, calling it mismanagement.
Yeah, like a palace, I think they said.
It's exactly. Powell, for his part, asked the Inspector General to review it, defended it as necessary for safety, code updates, said the media reports were misleading. So, with all that noise, all the criticism, what is the Fed's actual stance on the economy right now? What does it mean for interest rates?
Well, Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack, she reiterated today the U.S. economy is actually really healthy. Stable labor market, progress on inflation, but crucially, we're still not at that 2% target. Inflation's around 2.7%. So she sees no immediate need for rate cuts unless the labor market really weakens significantly. She emphasized needing a modestly restrictive posture for now, and she specifically mentioned tariff impacts contributing to that cautious approach. It really underscores how tied together trade policy and monetary policy are.
Okay, and for you, the investor listening,
Okay.
was the takeaway. Bank of America analysts are suggesting these tariff announcements make Fed rate cuts less likely. They're citing stagflationary risks.
Because that's that nasty mix of high inflation and slow growth.
Yeah. And Paul Hickey from Bespoke Investment Group warned that a moderate sell-off isn't surprising as earnings season starts. Expectations are high, and it's a seasonally weak period anyway.
Right. And talking about economic shifts hitting individuals, where do we see the most direct impact? The housing market is a huge one. Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi, he issued a red flare about the U.S. housing market.
Red flare. That sounds serious.
It does. High mortgage rates, hovering around 7%, are clearly slowing things down. Home sales, building, price growth, it could become a full-blown headwind. Annual home price growth in June was only 1.3%. That's the slowest in 2 years. And almost a third of the 100 biggest U.S. housing markets are now showing annual price declines.
Wow, a third.
Yeah. And inventory, a key measure, is up 29% over last year. Prices are softening in the South and West, but interestingly, still seeing gains in the Northeast and Midwest. It really shows a market in transition. Maybe not a crash, but definitely a significant rebalancing act happening.
Okay, let's move on to how everyday life business models are adapting to these new realities. First up, the workplace. Starbucks is requiring its corporate folks back in the office 4 days a week starting in October.
The return to office push continues.
It does. And for those who don't want to, they're offering a one-time voluntary exit program with a cash payment. CEO Brian Nichols stresses this is crucial for their turnaround. They've already cut 1,100 jobs, left positions unfilled, and this follows similar pushes from places like Walmart, Google. It feels like a trend, companies trying to reshape culture, maybe productivity.
It definitely seems like a trend. But shifting from work to, well, toys. What's truly remarkable and kind of unexpected is the rise of the Labubu doll.
Labubu doll, tell me more.
Okay, so these are $30 blind box monster toys from a Chinese company, Pop Mart, and somehow they've become this international status symbol. It's a fascinating look at how consumer trends can just explode. Last year alone, Labubu dolls generated $423 million in revenue.
Just the dolls.
Just the dolls. That's a 729% increase from 2023.
Whoa! What happened?
Well, the craze really took off after K-pop star Lisa from Blackpink was seen with one. Then celebrities like Lizzo, Rihanna followed. Now people are customizing them, resale prices are soaring, hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Pop Mart's market cap is now $43.28 billion. That's way bigger than traditional toy makers like Mattel or Hasbro. The founder, Wang Ning, his net worth is estimated at $21.6 billion. It just shows the power of celebrity, collectibles, and maybe that blind box surprise element.
That's incredible. Okay, switching lanes again to the food industry, we're seeing another shift there. Over 90% of U.S. ice cream producers plan to phase out artificial food dyes by 2028.
The dyes.
Yeah. This follows Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s push to phase them out. He linked them to ADHD and cancer. Those scientists say, more research is needed.
Definitely more research needed on those links.
Right. But major players like General Mills, Kraft Heinz, Nestle USA, they're already moving this way, partly to avoid sales disruption if states start banning them individually. What do you think is driving this? Just regulation fears, or is it consumer demand too?
It's definitely a mix. Consumer demand for cleaner labels, more natural ingredients, that's a huge driver. People are reading labels more. But yeah, anticipating those state-level bans is just smart business. Dealing with a patchwork of rules is a nightmare for big companies. It's often just easier, more efficient to change the national product line. And this leads us to think about the broader food industry structure itself. Kraft Heinz is reportedly considering a business breakup.
Really? Breaking up?
Yeah. And analysts like Robert Moskow at TD Cowen argue more food companies should do the same, saying those huge mega mergers in the industry haven't always worked out that well. It suggests maybe a shift away from these massive food giants towards potentially more agile, specialized companies.
Interesting. Okay, and just a small thing for your everyday life, something that just went up, stamp prices.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
First Class Forever stamps are now 78 cents. That's a 7.4% increase. It's part of the USPS's big 10-year plan to reverse huge projected losses, like $160 billion. They want financial stability.
Needs must, I suppose.
Yeah, involves big investments in infrastructure and tech. They expect 5 more price changes by the end of 2027. So get ready.
Good to know.
Okay, finally, let's talk about something that impacts everyone very directly, very personally, where you live. Our source has looked into CNBC's annual America's Top States for Business study, specifically the quality of life category. This looks at fascinating stuff. Crime rates, air quality, childcare costs and availability, worker protections, discrimination protections, even reproductive rights. It's really comprehensive.
And stepping back, putting this in the broader picture, with labor shortages still being a thing in many industries, companies are really looking hard at locations with great quality of life. It helps them attract and keep talent. It's not just a nice to have anymore. It's becoming a business imperative for growth.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Maybe you're thinking about moving, maybe just curious about your own state. The study found some clear leaders and some states facing real challenges. Vermont ranked #1 for the 5th year in a row. Got an A+ stamp.
5 years, wow.
Yeah. Excels in reproductive rights, inclusiveness, health, air quality, plus very low crime. Other top states included Maine, New Jersey, Minnesota, Connecticut, Hawaii, North Dakota, Massachusetts, Nebraska, and Virginia. Each has its own strengths, often balancing things like low crime or good health against challenges like childcare costs or maybe air quality issues, like Maine, for example. Lowest crime rate in the country, which is amazing. But tragically, they've seen drug deaths triple.
That really drives home the complexity, doesn't it? What quality of life actually means. Every state is this unique mix of good and bad. And on the other end of that spectrum, Tennessee ranked as the worst for quality of life. They have America's 3rd highest violent crime rate, plus more restrictive LGBTQ plus and worker protection laws, according to the study. Yeah. Other states near the bottom included Texas, Indiana, Utah, Louisiana, Georgia, and Alabama. Common weaknesses: high crime rates, poor health access, limited worker protections, strict abortion bans, issues with childcare or air quality. Texas is a great example of the trade-offs. One of the best job markets, right?
Right. Booming economically in many ways.
Yet it ranks lowest in primary care doctors per capita and health insurance coverage. It just shows that economic opportunity doesn't automatically translate into a high quality of life across every single measure.
Absolutely. Well, today we've really covered a lot of ground. From that intense competition in AI, its impact on content, security, to the complexities of tariffs, inflation, interest rates, right down to these really fundamental factors that define quality of life across the U.S.
It's clear. Whether we're talking tech breakthroughs, economic pressures, or societal shifts, these forces are just constantly reshaping the world around us. And understanding these dynamics, how they connect, that's really key to navigating what comes next.
So what stands out to you from today's deep dive? As companies, big and small, keep using AI to reshape whole industries, and as economic policies like tariffs keep creating uncertainty, maybe consider how these big trends might influence your own choices, career moves, even where you decide to call home. And maybe, just maybe, think about how your definition of quality of life lines up with the factors we talked about today. Something to chew on as you look at the world around you.